Welcome to the Silverthorne Pulse. I'm Kim Jardam, and I'm here today with Town Manager Ryan Highland, and we are here to recap the December 11th, 2024 work session and Town Council meeting. Thanks for being here, Ryan.
All right.
Let's jump into the work session first. We had an update from the Summit Community Care Clinic. The CEO, Josh Cogdill, was there along with a few other teammates to provide an update to council about how things are going at the care clinic.
Yeah, Josh is the new CEO, started just a few months ago. He was on the board formerly, but an opportunity for the council to get to meet the new CEO. And Silverthorne, along with all of the other municipalities in the county, are significant investors in the care clinic through the nicotine funds that are provided. So it's good to stay close to that organization and understand what their plans are. And so, like I said, Josh is new with the organization and is doing a lot of great work already. They've got their Soup for the Soul event coming up in the first quarter of next year, and then also they're planning a pickleball tournament. So,
wow.
But opportunity to catch up. As you mentioned, Sarah Dayton, who's their Director of Strategic Operations and Development, was also there, and so just an opportunity for council to connect with the care clinic.
Excellent. It's great work that they do, providing health care to our community, to anyone and everyone who needs it.
Anyone that needs it.
Mm-hmm. So the sheriff's office, Peter Haynes was actually there as well to do an overview of flock cameras for the group. Can you tell us a little bit about what flock cameras are?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and that's what we wanted to share with council, because in the future, installation of some of these cameras will require a license agreement to do that on some of Silverthorne's roads. But the story is that the Sheriff's Department got a grant, a significant grant through Congressman Negus's office back in the spring, about $475,000, I think, aimed at technological improvements that they could make. And one of the programs that they are implementing are flock cameras. And so essentially what those are license plate readers. So if you have an Amber Alert, or if you have stolen vehicles, or if you have suspected human trafficking, or anything that plate readers could be helpful, there's really kind of a growing network across the nation of, they're called flock cameras, and they're license plate readers. So they're planning to install those throughout the county, and we wanted council to have an understanding what that program is before those license agreements come forward to install those in certain locations around the community. To be clear, what they are not traffic enforcement cameras. There's no traffic enforcement that occurs with any of those cameras. They are not facial recognition. They are not any of those things. They are strictly plate readers that law enforcement can then look through the database to see how they might be able to identify crimes that have been committed with vehicles. So that is something that I think maybe around 30 of those around the county is what the Sheriff's Office is planning, and I think most of those will get installed in the spring. And so Under Sheriff Haynes provided that update to the council, so they had an understanding of what that request would be for the license agreement.
Okay, and moving on to the next item, there was an update on the site selection process for the new police facility, and that was given by several people, correct?
Yeah, kind of the planning team for the effort to plan for a new police facility in Silverthorne was on the agenda, and we are in the process of planning to build a new purpose-built police facility that will accommodate the needs of the department and our community and future growth. And funding for that planning effort and ultimately construction comes from the now 8% lodging tax. Back in April, that was increased up to 8% by the voters. But we had, that planning team was able to meet with council, our police chief, the architects, our town engineer, lots of folks on staff are on that team. And like you said, one of the main tasks we have is the location. And so we've been going through a process, started with 19 potential sites, and then kind of looking at seven different large categories, 33 criteria to start to winnow that down. And so the goal for the evening was to walk council through what that process had been, talk about other tours of other facilities in the state. Some of our staff have gone to planning conferences to look at some of the things that are being incorporated into new police facilities. But ultimately, I think what Council's direction was to proceed forward with 3 final sites, so sort of a short list that we can now dive into real detailed look at each of those and come up with the finalist. So we'll be involving the community in that process. Later in January, we'll do an open house where we bring those 3 sites forward and kind of look at all of the different considerations for each site. So the sites that are kind of in that final bucket, if you will, are we're calling it the solar array. So right across the street from Silverthorne Elementary, at the corner of the North Pond Park, is the solar array. And so that's a site that kind of bubbled up through that look at the criteria. We have a site that is north of the elementary school and south of the Cottonwood facility. So our public works facility and the elementary school, there's a gap in between there with some acreage that we own. That was one of the finalists. And then also the Smith Ranch site, the commercial site, right in front of the Smith Ranch apartments, and it's just to the south of the Catholic Church. So there's some acreage there. And those were the 3 sites that have, kind of risen to the top in that process. So more work to come there, more information that we'll be getting out to the community when we really dig into the detail on each of those sites, and then we can present that to the community and come to a final decision. So we also just gave kind of a quick refresher for the council and anyone that was in attendance on the need. Obviously, the police department is in a 1-story wing at Town Hall. We've been operating in Town Hall with the police department since 1986. Around that time, the Silverthorne community had about 1,700 residents. As you know, we are the largest community in Summit right now with our full-time population over 5,000 and lots of visitors. So we have outgrown the space, and then also lots of other shortcomings of trying to use a town hall as a police facility when you've got site security, privacy, accessibility issues in the building, and lots of other shortcomings. So through a strategic planning process a number of years ago, we identified that we could make some fixes to the building to hold us over, and that's what we've been doing. But we've reached the point where the department has grown, and our chief has got us up to full staffing, which has kind of exacerbated the problem, but it's a good problem to have. And so that's what's driven the need to look at a new police facility. So we're excited to have more of those conversations with the community and narrow in on what is the best final site.
That's great. It's exciting news.
Yeah.
And in more exciting news, we have the Smith Ranch Apartments leasing updates. Folks might be able to move in as early as the end of this month, December?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the 2 different products that are out there. There is the low-income tax building, and then also the workforce housing 2 buildings. And so 2 different application processes are underway. There was a lottery for the workforce, and then also kind of a first in line go through the list on the LIHTC. So that's the process that our partners at Gorman, who have constructed and managed the project, are going through right now. And so doing the application meetings and getting folks ready to lease the building up. But as you mentioned, we're hearing from Gorman that the first move-ins will likely happen in December, and they'll just continue to go through that process of meeting with folks, going through their applications and getting them qualified for leases. So great news. One of the things I think we see this with every workforce development up here, a lot more demand than supply. It's unfortunate. 135 units total and a lot more demand than 135 applications. But great new product that we have in Silverthorne, and happy to have folks moving in December.
Great. And Cafe Food Rescue, which is a nonprofit in the community that helps with food security in our community, came to request for an opportunity to sublease a commissary kitchen concept. So they're currently using the old Pizza Hut
Right.
building that we're allowing them to use for their services.
Yeah, we've got, as we've talked about before, they're in the Pizza Hut building. It's a temporary use. We do have some transportation improvements that at some point will require that that building be demolished. And remains to be seen when that will happen. That could be in a couple of years, or it could be quite a few years down the road. But in the interim, they're in that space. And we really ran out of time in the evening to get into this one in much detail, but briefly, they have a request that they could provide commissary kitchen to outside users as a way to help fund the nonprofit's operations in food insecurity. And one of those could be a more simple version of maybe a food truck would need a prep site or a storage site. And then the next level, they would be installing more full kitchen operations. So more conversations to come there. Ran out of time to really get into that one in detail with council. So we'll report back on that one as that conversation continues.
Great. So moving into the regular council meeting, we had a resolution authorizing the execution of the Silverthorne Professional Services Agreement with the Counseling Team International. This is related to our police department and mental health wellness for our employees.
Yeah, behavioral health services as needed. The folks that are in that profession go through a lot, and so we want to make sure that we have services on demand, and so just updated, going with a new provider for that service, and council approved.
Great. And then there were several licenses granted last night. One was a marijuana license for High Country Healing. We also had the Sports Buffet applying for a new liquor license. Another food facility, Gigi's Betchin Chicken, which is new, I believe, to Silverthorne, is looking for a new hotel and restaurant liquor license, as well as A Bar, which is within the pad, transferring their liquor license to Five Senses Hospitality Management, who's now managing the operations of the pad.
Correct. All those were approved. I'll just hit details real quickly on each of them. We have one marijuana shop in town, and so this is just the annual review. Police department does a site visit, and they have been operating in Silverthorne for many years, and fantastic operators. Had a great relationship with them. Their license was approved again. Sports Buffet over in the outlets, they are getting a liquor license. The owner was there and kind of indicated initially the goal was, to have the emphasis on the games, but, people are interested in potentially having a drink as they're playing some of those games. So the emphasis is still not being a drinking establishment, being a gaming establishment, but you can get a drink. That was approved. Gigi's Betchin Chicken, which I'm hearing has rave reviews on their chicken. A food truck operation that is now going to expand into the former Old Chicago space in La Quinta. And so they will be opening up in January. Angie Sandoval was there to share with the council their plans. That was approved. And then, as you mentioned, there was a foreclosure with the pad, and so the A bar that's located within there needed to have a transfer to the operator, who is Five Senses Hospitality. So those were all approved.
Perfect. And then under public hearings, there was an ordinance approving the conveyance of a private access easement to Appray Shores, which was continued on to our next meeting.
Yeah, this one was a little interesting. This was second reading, and there is town property right at the Annie Road and Highway 9 intersection, the Target intersection where the signal is. And based on our transportation master plan, the town would like to provide an access easement so that the development to the south can utilize and benefit from that signal there, versus having to have all of their residents go up and do a U-turn. So in line with our transportation master plan. Got a little bit challenging in that the developer was there, and this was simply focused on the access easement, but the developer began to provide detail about a pending land use application for his specific development to the south, which is not something that council can really consider in that venue. So it got a little bit complicated. We'll have to sort some of that out, but ultimately, because of that, council continued that to the January 8th meeting.
Okay, understood. Those were the regular items for the meeting, and then you moved into executive session. There was one discussion regarding the potential redevelopment in the Green Village, the outlets, the former outlets at the Green Village.
We have had a number of sessions and a development and agreements being negotiated. It just kind of outlines the parameters of what could be constructed there and how much workforce housing might be required. And so continued conversation there, really looking at changing the use as part of the conversation there. So rezonings to come and lots more to talk about there, but continued conversation about a development agreement.
Okay, and there was to be a discussion that was pushed to the next meeting regarding the property located at 800 Blue River Parkway.
Right, so that access easement that we were talking about, a reimbursement agreement with the developer, and given some of the conversations that happened at the podium with the developer earlier in the evening, this item was continued as well.
Okay, and then there was also another discussion item about, which was actually the town manager's annual review.
Right, that's something that happens with council annually, and that was the last item in the exec session for the evening.
Excellent. Well, I think that was it for December 11th. Happy holidays from all of us at the town of Silverthorne, and we'll see you next time.